So being an Agile Summit, what I thought would be great to do is to define, okay, what really is agility? But more so, what's the source of our agility? How do we access that? Because in all the coaching programs that I've led and taught, and then developing emergent essence dynamics, the question is, what makes a person really creative? What makes a person naturally adaptable and flexible? And over the years, I found, well, it's a whole being state, not just in a mental state, but it's a whole physical, mental, and emotional state that they can directly experience, and suddenly they do become more agile. It's not just, hey, be agile. So it takes work on both the coaches and the client's part to cultivate that space of agility, and so that it feels natural to the client, and that the agility is a natural state of being. But because of social conditioning or education, the way society works, that can get covered up, or we can get into a state of what I'll call false agility. And it's a difference between coming from reactive behaviors or a state of autonomy, where the person truly is coming from liberation and free choice. All right. So I'll get more into how do we tell the difference between those two states. So this is provoking natural agility through resilience. And I use the word provoking for a reason. Over the years, training coaches, I mean, coaching started off saying, oh, the coach is invisible, you know, and it got them into a sort of a false idea that they have to constantly follow the client. It's not quite true. What was originally meant was, what's the art of coaching is partly due to non-interference. How do I respect the client's own autonomy while still guiding them within the parameters of their own natural state of being? So it is important that a coach is able to provoke something and work with the reaction, and center the client into their own natural state without imposing or interfering. So there's a delicate balance there between, I do have a presence and an influence, but how do I discipline myself so I'm not overriding the client? Hopefully that sounds a bit clear. I will clarify exactly what I mean by that as we go along. So what we're discovering is, what is the importance of establishing resilience as a foundation for agile coaching? What I'm going to show you is agility comes from resilience, and resilience comes from an inner source that we can easily create access to for the client and with the client. And then I'm going to show you, and I'm going to demo a very simple method to capture resilient strengths at any moment, and then how you can anchor them into the client's well-being. And this will shift the fluidity of your session. And then I'll give you along the way some basic tips for neutralizing fear or resistance, because fear or resistance naturally comes up. And I will show you in a bit where that fear and resistance is coming from and why it happens. So as coaches, we're taught, hey, you know, clients come to us, they have issues, they want to work things out. So we think, yeah, our job is about transformation. We're creating change. I mean, isn't that what we think we're supposed to do? Yet there are certain pitfalls to rushing into transformation. Would like to hear from those from you out there. You can put it into the chat. Think of when you've had sessions with clients and they're in a rush to transformation, to transform. I need to change something, or you get excited. Yeah, we need to change this. They bring their issue to the table. What are some of the drawbacks? How could that backfire if you rush too soon into transformation? Anything that you've experienced? So anything there, Daniel? Yeah, there could be disappointment.
Change fatigue,
Yeah.
missing real objectives.
Yeah.
That sounds almost to me like being, too quick in the solution space, probably.
That's right. Yeah.
Asking the wrong questions and solving the wrong problems. I think they're related.
Yeah. I also see they can blame you or Agile for failure. So it's very easy for them to, say, hey, that's the wrong thing. That's not what I wanted. Exactly. Not ready to make the real
mismatch.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
There is a lot of feedback here.
Okay, this is good.
The transformation does not stick.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not sustainable.
No authentic
fake
vision. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys are okay. So I see this is hitting a nerve, or you understand, or you've seen these things. So here's some basic examples. We can start focusing on false topics. Somebody could bring something to the table. They think, this is what I really need to change. We can even go in circles around it and realize by the end of the session, that's actually not the issue. It's something deeper. There's something underneath. There's a deeper layer there. Yes, we can get into fixing, rescuing, solving. Either they or you or both will get into this fixer solver mode. And that is actually taking you off task as a coach. The job of a coach is not necessarily to rush in and solve or fix or even save the client. Again, we need to preserve the autonomy of the client. We can actually increase the resistance. So they can walk in and say, oh yeah, I really want to change this. And then suddenly they're being difficult with you. They're resisting. And you might think, well, whose fault is that? Theirs or mine? It could be simply that you're rushing in too soon into change. And so there's this natural resistance to change that put the brakes on. Or there could be false empowerment or a superficial empowerment. This is also what may make the transformation not sustainable, because it's not completely grounded or anchored in. It's a good idea, they get excited about it, but they lose steam very quickly after the session. Another thing, it can be you risk creating a codependency with the client, where now they're depending on you to give them the good feelings, the good ideas. Oh, whenever I'm with my coach, I feel like, everything's going to work out. And then when I'm on my own, it all falls apart. I need to get back with my coach so I can get back on track. So all of these are examples of the client not coming from a resilient state. They're buying into their own fear, need, emptiness, desperation, and then they'll start to project it onto you or into the relationship, and they'll even suck you into that game. And then what you're trying to do is you're chasing your tail, running in circles, trying to get something done when actually the transformation isn't going to stick, because they're actually locked into an old pattern that they're unwilling to get out of, whether that's conscious or unconscious. Part of what we do in EED is we're looking at actions and behaviors as opposed to what is the client saying. We're looking at what is the client doing? What is that revealing about how they're in relationship to things, with themselves, with you, with the topic. And what we want to do is first get them into a resilient state, so that then they become more fluid, less fear-driven, less reactive. Then they can start shifting the patterns. And when the pattern shifts, so do they and the issue. So what I'm encouraging people to do is, before you rush into doing anything about the issue or the client, first take a moment, a few minutes, to get them in a resilient state, so it calms the fears, it calms the need, it calms the desperation. Then they become more conscious and lucid with themselves and more fluid. And I'll show you exactly how we can do that. Was there a question? I saw a question pop up here.
I'm not sure if this is a question to you. This is, to me, it reads more like a question, are we rushing into agile transformations too early without understanding what is, yeah.
That's basically it. So a lot of times we're going to make a snap judgment on, okay, yeah, that doesn't look right. That doesn't feel good. We need to change that. What we're doing is we're judging it before we're experiencing it. And before we experience, then we have no understanding. And so we might be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just because something feels out of range or out of our comfort zone that we really, our natural reaction is let's push it away and replace it with something else that feels more comfortable. I'll show you what that means, okay? Before we do that, I want to really clearly define resilience because I think there are a lot of different interpretations of what resilience is, okay? Where I'm coming from with emergent essence dynamics is resilience is actually very simple. It's our own core vitality, and it is our will to live. And this is always there. Despite the circumstances, that core vitality and will to live is always there. Basically, no matter what is happening, how am I still here? How am I still alive? How am I still okay? I haven't fallen apart yet, okay? No matter how bad it gets. And by the way, normally we'll only get in touch with our resilience when things get really bad. When in fact, this is an innate ability that we have. It's an innate energy. It's always there. But usually it's so far buried in the background, we're not aware or conscious of it because we're so focused on the circumstances or the problem or what's challenging us. We forget about the resilient energy. Resilience gives us this ability to bounce back in any situation, the ability to create. It enables flexibility, agility, creativity, and fluidity. So where does this come from? It's when we get in touch with our essential life force. Again, that's back to core vitality. But this is a part of ourselves that feels permanent, timeless, unconditional, where we are in touch with our own sense or source of all potential. It's that core creativity that comes from within. So think in many moments of, where you can ask yourself, okay, despite what's happening, how am I able to live despite this, to live beyond this? What is the part of myself that can override and overcome? It's that little spark of energy. Now that might flash in and flash out. What's really important is that we capture that little spark, feed it and grow it so that it does become more embodied in ourselves. Then we can proceed to face our situations. Was there something else in there, Daniel?
Yeah. There is a couple of questions how not to rush into transformation, how to recover if you or the client has rushed. What are the telltale signs of the client's readiness for the transformation? And what if you are rushed by management into transformation?
Good.
Like all resolving around that.
Okay, the next few slides will answer all of those questions. And I'm going to be packing in a lot of information for you guys here. So feel free also to take a screenshot of the a screen capture of any slides that feel relevant as we go along. Okay, so why resilient first? Why would we go to resilience first? One, remember, resilience is always present and available. We actually never lose connection with it. We just might lose consciousness of it. And when we are resilient, transformation is automatic. So what does that mean? That means if transformation is not the goal, it is a byproduct of resilience. So when we get back in touch with our resilience, transformation will naturally start to occur. When we're in a resilient state, things start to rearrange themselves. That means we're not desperately chasing, fighting, or fleeing, or avoiding, or subtracting or adding. Those are all desperate, fearful, reactive measures to control something. At the base of resilience, the foundation of resilience is actually a simple acceptance of what is. And by connecting to my own inner source, all potential, core creativity, I know that, okay, I can accept what is. I may not like what is there, but I can accept it. I no longer feel so threatened by it. And when I'm less threatened, I can become more creative and make choices on my own, as opposed to in reaction to everything. When I'm in a reactive place, I'm like a pinball getting bounced around. What's missing is that resilient state. So if the coach comes into the session focused on transformation, they may be missing the resilient sparks of the client, and the client also will be missing those sparks. If we trust that resilience creates the transformation, not the coach, not the client, you actually can relax and be in more relationship with the natural resilience of the client and see when they bounce in and out of a resilient state. And really all you need to do is return them to resilience, return them to resilience. This is basically what we're doing all the time in EED. Whether you're coaching, leading, facilitating, training, it doesn't matter. You keep returning the group or the person to resilience, and you allow them to bounce out, but you bring them back. And the more repetition you can bring them back, the more they relax into it and actually stay there in an anchored, resilient state. Is that okay? So I'll show you how this happens. I'm showing this diagram of what it looks like when we're in relationship from non-resilience and from resilience. So, and I'm going to be I'm going to try and be quick here. I know questions might come up from this, but you might want to take a screen capture and then reflect on this later. Everybody is living in their own protective bubble. All right. Everyone has a point of view. Everyone has a story. This is where we naturally are. All right. We have belief systems. Those belief systems shelter us in a safe and secure place where we can say, I know I exist and I can control my existence through my filters, my beliefs, etc. And this is how we're going to perceive the world, as if it's on the edge of that bubble, like we're seeing a movie. And I have my truth, Daniel has his truth, Roman has his truth. Now, what happens is when we get together, we each have a version of the truth. That means we each hold a singular piece of the pie. When we get together in relationship, well, if we agree, we'll get along. But if we disagree, where we have differing points of view, this could create turbulence or conflict. And what we're really trying to do is preserve our bubble while trying to be in connection or relationship. But what ends up happening is, if I stay rigid with that bubble, I'm going to have friction with another person or a thing or my world. And what it ends up being is a win-lose compromise, or conquer or be conquered. And if we're working on this level, this level of truth in opposition or polarity, nothing is going to change. It's only going to be a false, superficial change. Why? Because I'm not open to influence. All right. So again, when your client walks in, they're probably most likely walking in with that closed bubble, saying this, that, and the other is actually threatening me. I'm uncomfortable. I need to change, or it needs to change. But at the foundation, they're still clinging to that bubble if they're rigid, and nothing will change. It'll be only false changes. What we need to do is take time to plug them into the resilience so they can open that bubble and look over there at the issue or the other person and be willing to be influenced without feeling threatened, so that there's this more expanded bubble. This is where we say truth is in flux. This is a fluidity of relationship where it becomes more of a co-creative relationship. And what we're saying here is the coach and the client can establish this resilient bubbles of relationship. And it's going to come from you first. You can't wait for them to do it. So what we're training here is how to discipline ourselves to be already in a resilient state. And the client starts to reflect that and stay in that state with you. And so when we open this resilient bubble, they can be more resilient with themselves. This means they have more acceptance of what's happening. They know they're surviving it. They can then take in more input and have creativity. This will come from a basic acceptance and fascination with what is, as opposed to fight what is. Furthermore, we can drop into source, and this is where there really is no ego anymore. This is just pure essence, and this is where everything is true, including paradox. And what we do is we train you in EED on how to get the client into that state. It's a much deeper receptive state. But what I'm saying for now is all you need is just a little bit of resilience to open that bubble where they can be more accepting of themselves, the issue, and the relationship that they have with you. They're more fluid and open to change. So story and game are levels of resistance, and all you're going to get is going in circles and playing games. This is coming basically from judgment. They're judging themselves, they're judging the world, they're judging the situation, and what's happening is they're acting on that judgment. When we drop them into levels of resilience, what they're doing is, before we act on anything, take a look again at what's in front of you and find simple acceptance of it. That doesn't mean 100% unconditional acceptance. It just means it is what it is. And when we start from a simple of acceptance of what is, we can then start opening the resilience of the client and of ourselves. How are we doing with that? Anything? Or so how does this play into the coach-client relationship or coach-facilitator? You as the coach will remain in this level of fluidity and resilience. What does that mean? Well, you've got to get yourself in there. That means you have to begin practicing simple acceptance. What does that mean? Well, you're accepting every behavior of the client in front of you. So when you get a client who's judgmental and you know, saying, whoa, who are you? Prove yourself. Or I'm so lost and confused and I don't know what to do. If you can find the way to be resilient within yourselves, see the resilience in them, no matter the behavior, and simply accept the behavior, you're actually relaxing the relationship to become more resilient, and that bleeds over into them. All right. So then you don't have a compulsion to interfere. You are allowing them to be exactly what and who they are at this moment, knowing that there is all potential and core creativity behind it. That takes training to stay in this state. All right. Now, what can happen, though, is the coach can pull you from dream level up back to that game. And this is what it might look like. They're going to ask you to be the expert or the guru. Tell me what to do. Give me your advice. They might say, I'm drowning, save me. And they'll try to pull you into that water to pull so that they can get pulled out. Because I can't handle this. Or they might say, I need help. Can we brainstorm? Can we just fix this? All that means is they're coming from non-resilience. So when you start to see these behaviors, that just means, aha, let me catch a resilient spark in them, cultivate that for a moment, and then we can get back into this dream space. If you're not feeling resilient, you'll get pulled into that. And you might even think, hey, I can be a hero here. I can tell them exactly what to do. I can fix them. I can give them some knowledge, and I can save them a lot of time and grief. But what you're not doing is you're not cultivating the resilience for them to do that on their own, to find that state on their own. And again, that's what's creating the codependence. So in a coaching session, what's actually happening here is you and the client are toggling between this game level, rigid bubble, to the dream level of this open resilience and fluidity. And so again, you just keep returning them, and you return yourself because you're going to get pulled up. What I can also say is you can also take on that role temporarily, but then come back here And that is a way to spark the client. But I won't get into that here, but that's what we train in the EED courses, is how you can expertly toggle between these two states to build more resilience in the client. Just let me know if anything comes through or if that's clear. Or
No, there is a lot of remarks how
okay.
true that is, and it seems to me that a lot of people seem reminded of other practices like meditation or something. I actually had to think of stuff like Theory U or the Responsibility Process stuff by Christopher Avery. It all seems to come together somehow here.
Yes. If I show that previous diagram, this is what Theory U is talking about. It's dropping you all the way down into the source and then back up. And by going into dream and source, you're able to rearrange everything. It's like going into toggle mode with your iPhone, and you can rearrange the apps. That's dream level. And source, we'll get into the source code programming, where we can literally rearrange the patterns and then re-emerge in a new game and story. So EED is doing exactly that. We're starting from story and game, descending down into the dream and source. These are resilient states, and then they can rearrange their game and their story, and that's how the transformation happens. But what's going on a lot of times is we're only staying in story and game, never dropping below that red line. And so what I'm showing you today, some simple ways to get below that red line, okay? And it actually, well, it takes some discipline and awareness, but it's actually can be very simple. And one thing is acceptance and fascination. A simple acceptance and simple fascination will already start opening that dream level. And one thing, don't project your own game dynamics onto the client, okay? So to be very aware of your own self, your own states of non-resilience, okay? It's okay, accept that, and then come back to a fascination with them and their resilience, all right? Yeah, actually in the early days, EED and ORSC and CTI were all very related. So, ORSC did talk about essence level a lot, and I just took that a lot further on how to really define essence and the third entity, etc. Maybe at the end I can get a little bit more into that. So, okay, resilience is available everywhere. And what I'm going to do is do a quick demo here, because I know we're running short on time here. I want to say that resilience can show up anywhere and everywhere. And some examples of this might be, there might be a value, or the client might have a vision, maybe they have a peak experience or an interesting perspective. Those are pretty obvious. Coaches use values, vision, experiences, and perspective a lot, all right? What may not be apparent is resilience is also you can grab a spark from their physical behavior, their body posture, a simple desire, or any emotion. And what I do not want you to think about is that it needs to be positive or negative. I want you to think of it as being neutral. Just the way Daniel's sitting there with his hand and his thumb moving, I can pull out a resilient there, and he laughs. I can pull out some resilient energy from that. Okay, it's from anything we say, or it's from anything we do, because we're using energy to do it. Okay, it's the filter we put on that energy that's going to make it fearful or empowering. Okay, so we want to take the filter off and just use pure energy. So that means we can use negative things too. The client is struggling, they have a problem, or they're resisting you or the whole process. Again, it's energy. So when dealing with resistance, here's another way to look at it. It actually is resilient energy. The problem is when we call it resistance, that energy is being focused on fixing something, solving something, fighting something. So they're focused on the something and they forget about the energy they're using. So what you want to do is look at not what they're fighting, but the energy they use to fight. And what's that pure energy? So if they're tolerating a problem, you can ask, well, what does it demand of you to be able to tolerate this? Okay, you're not dead yet. What's keeping you alive? Or if they're struggling, okay, so what's the energy you use as you struggle? Yeah, but I need to do this and that. This is so confusing. But hold on, look, you're moving your fists. Look at all the energy you're using. Just pay attention to that for a second. Move the situation aside and focus on what you're experiencing energetically. That is actually resilient energy. If there's strength, there's determination, or there's a fight, or they're running, all of that is energy. Okay, so you want to look at what's the energy behind what they're doing. That's a very easy way to capture resilience.
Yeah. We have one question. How does the physical health, diet, sleep of the client influence their ability to go into a resilient state?
Okay, so here's the easy answer to that. For all of you sitting there, whether you're in your home, in your office, if a bomb flew through the window and exploded, would you need a nap before you would run? No, there's no time to take a nap. Again, the resilience is always there. It's, are we aware of it? And it kicks in. It kicks in all the time. There's no preparation needed, okay?
Mm.
So what I'm going to do is, I think I should do the demo here, okay? And then I can show you what I'm actually doing. What I'm going to do is I'm taking a spark and I'm building that up to active energy. Then I'm going to, before taking action on it, plug that energy back in onto a more source level with the client, so they're directly experiencing that sense of timelessness and permanence. Then we can go take action. I think what I should do is I should stop share here, I guess, right? And we could go back to gallery view.
Yeah, and I guess you need a demo client, right?
I do. Yep.
So, is there somebody in the crowd who wants to serve as a demo client for Troy?
And it's someone willing to be on video, I would say.
Yeah, somebody who's resilient
or
enough
not,
to do that.
Yeah.
Please raise your hand or give us a sign so we can unmute you.
If not, we can have Daniel or Roman demo.
Okay, we're going with, John Bruce is ready to do it. Great.
Okay.
I just need to find you in the,
I got
here.
it. John Bruce, I'm going to pin your video. Okay.
Yeah, and John is unmuted.
Hi, John. Hello,
Hi.
hello. Okay. So I could start from anything, but let me just see if there was any kind of an issue or a topic, whether big or small, that popped into your mind now, just as you volunteered to work with me on this demo.
Just from you asking, I'd say I have a personal challenge with my, getting too mad at my teenage son when he doesn't, live up to the rules that we agree upon that he needs to follow.
Okay, so what I want you to do then is see your son's face in front of you and see his behaviors and hear the words he says that he's saying directly to you. Let that affect you, okay? You don't have to tell me what's going on, but he's not living under the rules and the conditions that you're setting forth. So what happens to you as you see him behaving in this way? What are your first reactions here?
Well, I get annoyed and then angry. Okay,
good. So let's just work with that. We're going to put the issue aside now and just work with annoyed and angry, okay? Because there's an energy in that I'm going to capture. I also noticed you furrowed your brow a bit when you said annoyed, angry there, and you smile. So, okay, what's happening to you now as I bring that up as far as energy or feeling or experience?
Well, you brought a smile to my face by just identifying my response to annoyed and angry. I think that is the thing that comes to mind, right?
Okay, so then let's relief. Okay, yeah. So that's what's happening now. So you've got some relief. How are you experiencing that relief in yourself? How's it showing up, or the sensations?
Well, a relief is always some kind of positive, but as such, it's not doing anything with my issue.
Exactly. We're not working on the issue yet. I'm just take a moment to, okay, what do you enjoy in that relief? Even as you smiled and laughed just now, what's the simple enjoyment there?
Well, even though I sit like this, my shoulders are coming down, and
Okay, great.
some pressure is taken off.
Okay, so stay that way. Again, lean back, allow the shoulders to open like you just did, and uncrossing your arms. Even just that simple adjustment, what is it like to uncross the arms and allow yourself to?
Well, it's becoming easier to breathe, basically, right?
Great. So then just allow yourself to breathe naturally in that way. And what are you connecting to within yourself as you breathe, like a strength or a quality or kind of a resource? What's happening there?
Well, more calm, right?
More calm.
More calm and relaxed.
Okay. And as you become more calm and relaxed, what is reinforced in you?
It's a nicer way to sit, and it's a nicer state to be in, basically. Then.
Okay, great. So go with the niceness of it. What is nice about it for you? And just dip down into what you're experiencing. You don't have to think about it too much, but even just now, you're smiling a lot here.
Yeah. But I think just the fact of reflecting about a positive state reinforces it somehow. Yeah.
Okay. And what is it like to just simply be relief, calm, positivity?
Well, that is well, just the words that you put on it, right? It is a better state to be in. Basically.
Okay. Well, what makes it better for you? Let's look at it this way. How does that feed your own well-being? How does it feed?
Well, I feel more, ready to take on the world, basically, right?
Okay, great. Now, locate that within yourself. I'm ready to take things on. If you scan your body, which part of your body feels that urge, that readiness?
Well, mostly my head, I'd say, but it's a more general energy.
Okay, great. What are you enjoying in that right now? That energy.
Well, just the sense of being there, being able to tackle issues, problems coming along.
Okay, now stay there. What feels vital or life-giving or even unconditional when you're in touch with that?
That's my dog. Well, it is basically just a sensation. I'm not sure I can dissect the question.
Well, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to take it away from you. Ah, there, you just smiled. Okay, what just happened to you? Your very first reaction when you said, ha, yeah.
Well, I think it's the essence of just or the situation of just keep reflecting on the positive things reinforces the positivity. I think.
Okay, now go a layer deeper. What in you becomes reinforced through that positivity? What do you notice within yourself? Okay, what gets strengthened or reinforced in you?
Well, just me, and basically, right? So again, my ability to just take on perhaps even more difficult situations.
Okay, so that ability to take on, what are you connected to that enables you to take it on?
Well, a core of trust in myself to do it. Yeah.
Great, just take that on. How does that feed back to you? What does it give you? I'm able to trust myself.
Again, I might be circling here, but again, the trust in myself and my own ability will enable me to take on even bigger issues.
So notice you did this with your hands. You actually, I trust myself and I'm able to take on. You're doing this sort of a back and forth with your hands. What does that do for you when you see that?
Well, it is energy. right? So I'm getting energized from that state.
Great. And where do you feel the energy the most within you physically right now?
Center.
Great. Okay, so now from this center place, when that energy is there, before we do anything with it, what is the special quality in there, in that energy? It could be a sensation or a quality or anything, just in that energy.
Well, it makes me happy to have this energy, right? It is.
Okay.
It's a good thing.
Okay. So let's say here's happy energy in here. And what feels permanent in that energy? Or like it's unconditional or it can't be taken away? What is that aspect that feels timeless or permanent here?
Well, I think just the fact that it's being in the core, I think is the permanent part, as I
Okay.
understand, or as I reflect
Yeah,
upon
yeah.
it.
Okay, so now just allow yourself to enjoy that simply.
Mhm.
Now, from that energy center, this happy, this permanence, now what's it like to see your teenage son? Just first reaction.
Love and positivity, to
How'd
be
you get,
honest.
how'd you get there so fast? I mean, come on, he's rebelling, he's breaking the rules.
Yeah, but he's just being a teenager, right?
Okay, so what's that immediate shift right there in you? Just from
Yeah.
first reaction. What do you notice in that? And then
I think an understanding, right?
okay.
And reflecting myself into that situation from his side.
Okay, great. So that enables you to have a little bit more empathy or listening or to have more of an open relationship. That doesn't mean we're going to let him get away with shit. Okay. It just means that now you're in a more resilient state to be the father that you are and to
Yeah.
be in relationship with your son. So there, just within 5 minutes or 7 minutes, I'm establishing a resilient foundation. So then now from here, we can do some coaching to work out possibilities, solutions, etc. And you're coming from a more integrated place within yourself, from your core. Right. So thank you very much, John.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and the way I saw it, you spent almost all of the session just on building that resilience. I could really see that, and then the change in John kind of happened by itself.
Right. So he's playing a game with himself, with his topic, with his son, and he's protecting his own bubble. I need to be this way. I need to protect. I need to discipline, whatever it is. Right? But when he drops, he's willing to give and receive. And he literally did this with his hands, willing to give and receive from resilience without feeling so threatened. That does not mean he stops exercising authority, but he can exercise authority now with more wisdom, more understanding, more creativity, as opposed to being rigid, right? Reactive. This is a different kind of authority and creativity that he's going to access. That shifts the whole tone of the session.
Yeah. Troy, we're eating a little bit into the closing time.
Yeah.
So
What I'd like to do then is very quickly give you guys then you could take a screenshot of these two slides. It breaks down exactly what I did, okay? And then you can kind of figure it out from there. I was taking any spark, building up the energy, and all I'm doing is 3 simple things. No matter story and topic aside, I'm connecting with the pure energy with him, having him connect to it, expand out what's that strength or resource, having him embody it, reinforce. And like he said, it sounds like we're going in circles. We were, because it's giving him time to connect and enjoy and get to know that energy. So I'm charging up the energy, all right, just through action, response, action, response. So 3 simple questions. What's the energy you're using right now? What does that give you? What is now reinforced? Okay. And that's going to bounce between what he's experiencing and what he's thinking or aware of. When that builds to a certain point, then I can choose to dial it back to source. This means where he's going to get into a more relaxed state. I asked him specifically, what is it like to be this energy or this quality? How does that feed your well-being? What feels vital and unconditional? And all I want is for him to locate that energy physically in a body center with a sensation, and it has a particular quality. So it was the center of his chest, it's a happy energy, right? And he could feel the sensation of that energy there. From there, he has a direct experience. It's not a mental experience. It's a direct, integrated and congruent experience. Okay. So capture that and take time to maybe practice it. Just using those 6 questions can be very easy. You can practice that on each other or with client. Yeah. Okay, so Daniel.
There is one last question. How do you trigger a spark? Here it was by expressing something you saw, but why did you focus on the smile and not the frowning? So my take is you can work with anything.
You can work with anything. And the main thing that I didn't mention is it's what's now. What's happening now is the most real. That's what we're creating. If I go back to the moment of, oh yeah, but you were annoyed before, that's past. He can have a moment of annoyance, and then when he's reacting to me, my question, my statement, and he gets into a smile, well, I'm going to capture that now. If he's going to go back to the anger, I can capture that too. But once we've captured it, now I'm focusing his awareness on what he's experiencing. That's the art of really being present and in the moment. Yeah. So you can contact me at info@essence-dynamics.com. I'm also on the swap card with the contact information. We have webinars, so you can always contact me to get in touch with our YouTube channel at EE Dynamics. And I recommend this webinar called Core Vitality and Resilient Wellbeing. That expands much further on what I've showed you. Okay. And always feel free to contact me if you have more questions. Yeah.
Yeah, and we would like to get the slides for the people who didn't manage to take a screenshot. So if you could send them to me or to Mark or something, we will share that with the people. We'll find a way for that.
Okay,
and with
I'll send you a PDF of that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So Troy, that was very impressive, and that was a lot of stuff in a very short time. It was a great closing for the day. This is what professional coaching can be, and it, you hopefully saw how it ties into what we heard in the other talks, how it ties into the topic, and I hope everyone took something away from here. How can we be more professional coaches in the Agile community? And just expand our range, and the more range we provide to our clients, the more they will experience a shift. That's my take, and I'm mind blown by all the connections.
Yeah, the more resilient we allow ourselves to be or become, the less taboo anything is. So ideally, we want to be in a place of there are no taboos, and therefore we can welcome and adapt to anything and everything.
Yeah.
That gives us great masterful range as a coach. Yeah.
Thank you.